Good day, and welcome to Wheat Pete's Word here on Real Agriculture for Wednesday, May the 22nd. On this episode of The Word, all we've got is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Dang! Let's go! Yes! So there is some amazing stuff happening this year. It's just awesome. It has been unbelievably warm. Dale Cowan, Agris Co-op, Ridgetown data from May 1st until May the 21st. 364 crop heat units. Last year, 246, so we're 120 ahead of last year. The 12-year average, so this is recent average, warm temperature average, 279. That's 85 crop heat units ahead of normal. The corn loves this weather. Craig reporting that he planted corn on May the 1st on sandy soil, so it's hot soil, it dries out easily. It is currently at 5-leaf corn. He has started to side dress that corn already. Oh, wow. The corn that has made it in the ground is just loving it. Most of it emerging amazingly well. Not everywhere. Like, get out there and scout. We are seeing some variable stands. We are seeing some weird things in certain varieties, certain fields where the coleoptile is splitting open underground and that first leaf is coming out and those seeds are probably done. Not that it's a disaster. It's not that we're ripping those cornfields up, but have a look because there's still really interesting things happening. But in general, the corn that's in the ground is off to a roaring start. On the silage front, yes, the cereal silage yields, the rye, the triticale, like they are unbelievable. The reports are coming back that the self-propelled harvester is just on its knees trying to get across the field. And man, 100 acres and we can't make any headway. We can't get across this field to save our soul because there's so much volume. We haven't heard quality yet. Hopefully it's good as well. But definitely big yields. And it is, unfortunately, already showing up in the wheat and the barley crops. We are seeing lodging in wheat that hasn't even headed out in some situations. Now, no growth regulator there, so that's one thing. But winter barley with 2 growth regulators applied, and already it's headed out, so it started in grain fill. It's earlier, but yes, some lodging in the low areas, the really powerful ground, and you just go, wow, that is telling me we have huge biomass in this crop. Meanwhile, on the rainfall front, and the people that have zero corn in the ground are listening to this part of the word saying, oh, Pete, you're just making me feel awful. Do not feel awful. Man, it is so weird. We are into summer. The temperatures are summer temperatures. I don't know if we ever had winter, really. I think February was our spring, and it is May, it is summer. The temperatures are warm. The thunderstorms are happening. The thunderstorm alleys, if you will, are already established. And so for growers that are in thunderstorm alley, man, you just keep getting moisture after moisture after moisture, and you can't plant into mud. So Nature Nut Nick, I feel for you. 0 seeds in the ground. Got another 24 millimeters, an inch of rain in the last storm. That's rotten. A caller from Macton saying on the Macton clay, and if you don't know Macton clay, it is tough stuff. It's this little patch of clay amongst some really great soil. It's incredibly tough. And his comment was, Peter, the triticale is out in full head. It looks amazing. Not sure when we're going to get to cut it because we've got 0 seeds in the ground. It is just wet here at Macton. Yep, nothing that you can do about that. By the way, really interesting that it's been so mild over the winter. Jason from New Brunswick, he's a crop specialist there with the New Brunswick Department of Agriculture or whatever that ministry is called. Spring wheat seeded last October as a cover crop made it through the winter perfectly in New Brunswick. I mean, their winters are harsh. Yeah, came through the winter perfectly. The grower is leaving a 12-acre field through to harvest. It looks awesome. You just go, wowzers, that's pretty cool. Meanwhile, all these warm temperatures, no, not on my glorious wheat crop. Lots of growers thinking, oh, biomass, look at the biomass, Pete. Look what you're talking about, cereal sap. Big yields, big yields, big yields. We're going. Yeah, dang it. 31 degrees yesterday, or Monday it was, I think. And right when that wheat is in the critical period, we don't want the high temperatures. We want temperatures under 25 degrees in the daytime, or it's a negative. Meanwhile, both Brian and Claire sending me pictures and saying, Pete, I don't think we have ever seen such big flag leaves. That's gotta mean awesome yield potential. Those big flag leaves just soaking up the sunshine. Well, yeah, you know, they're big. I agree. The flag leaves are big. It's just one of those years. The challenge with a big flag leaf is that now you shade all the leaves underneath, and the data would suggest that you're actually better off with a little smaller flag leaf, so you get some sunshine down to the lower leaves, and all the leaves can photosynthesize and contribute to yield, as opposed to only the flag leaf. So I'm a little caught betwixt and between. I'm not sure if big flag leaves are a good thing or a bad thing, but let's hope they're a good thing, because there is big biomass out there. Meanwhile, lots of growers, red clover, so many of us have walked away from it. The number of pictures and feedback I have gotten as of May the 22nd with gorgeous red clover stands in massive wheat crops. And you just go, wow, maybe it's going to work this year. That would be excellent. Okay, now we got to get to the ugly. And alert, alert, alert. Stripe rust in the glorious wheat crop, this beautiful wheat crop. Man, Bern Tobin and I are doing a little video today. It will be up on Real Agriculture today. We'll link it in the post. But we are getting more and more reports of stripe rust in the wheat crop across a larger and larger geography. We have it as far north as Dashwood. We have it at Conestoga. We have it as far south as Caledonia and down into the Windsor region. And it will soon spread east. It's just, we call it yellow death in Europe because it spreads so fast. Remember, you have to make sure it's stripe rust, not physiological fleck. Stripe rust makes your thumb yellow. Physiological fleck never comes off the leaf, and it doesn't make your thumb yellow. But if you have it, you cannot wait. And you can scout. I mean, gosh, we've been out scouting wheat fields. You can scout and scout and scout and find nothing. And then you come back 3 days later, and you'll get yellow spots in the field, and you just say, what happened here? Because it blows up unbelievably fast. Albert Tenuta is saying, under these temperatures, a latency period, or the time it takes to go through a generation, of probably only 5 days. The number of spores it produces is just ginormous, and you go from nothing to the field being totally infested in a very short period of time. So you find it, you just have to spray. Remember, no strobal urine fungicides, none of the strobies. Once we're at growth stage 35, or that head is coming up in the stem close to the flag leaf, we just have to pull the strobies. We have to go to the triazoles. So just get out there. Folicure is great. Bumper is great. Any of those triazoles to stop the stripe rust immediately, because the amount of yield loss that it can cause in a very short period is unbelievable. But if you're within 3 days of a T3, then you just push that T3 a little earlier, maybe go a day or two earlier than you normally would, but you give up some fusarium control. And by the way, right now the fusarium risk is quite high in much of Ontario, so I hate giving up that fusarium control. The fusarium fungicides all have great control of stripe rust, so I'm not worried about that. But I want to stop it immediately. If you can't get in the field with your T3 and do a well-timed T3 within that, at least that 4-day window, get out there with a triazole, put it on, stop the stripe rust, delay your T3 a couple of days, get 7 days between the stripe rust fungicide and the fusarium fungicide, the T3 fungicide, and for almost everybody, because so much stripe rust is out there, because it's such a devastating disease, and yes, we have genetic tolerance, but there's very few varieties that aren't going to suffer some from a stripe rust infection. I just think pretty much every acre needs to get a T3 fungicide this year. It's just that much of a challenge. All right, I want to move on. And the next ugly is alert, 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 alfalfa weevil. We are finding it at incredibly high levels in many alfalfa fields. If you have 3 larvae per stem, if 40% of the tips of the stems are showing feeding damage, you need to control if you can't harvest in 7 days. If you can harvest in 7 days, no worries. But man, they again cause tremendous damage. So either harvest within 7 days or spray. Now, one of the challenges, remember this, the lambda cyhalothrin, the matador, we don't have that anymore. So it's either dimethoate, Saigon, Laogon, dimethoate, or malathion. Those are the control products. But it's just one of those things you can't sit on. You have to get out there. So scout. And if you're seeing that feeding damage and you're not going to harvest because you've got too much else to do, you better spray if you're having many alfalfa weevil, and pressure is huge in many fields that we've looked at. All right, I got to move on. Mark, passing on some great information. He said, Peter, you had a caller that asked, if it stays dry, and believe it or not, some areas are staying reasonably dry. What about a T3 fungicide? Mark says, in multiple trials, he's never seen less than a 3 bushel yield advantage to a T3 fungicide. It's a high risk year. Just why wouldn't you spray that T3 fungicide? Add that to stripe rust, man. I think you're right on, Mark. This year we're spraying a T3 fungicide. Norm, which is a really, really interesting observation. I love this observation. And his comment was this. I think cereals are going to save us again this year. The wheat looks amazing here in the Middle East. So Norm is from that, I think, Peterborough area, somewhere in that region, and kind of middle Ontario. And gosh, it finally is catching up. It looks awesome. The red clover is incredible underneath. I think cereals are going to save us because we have nothing in the ground. The tile are dry, no water running. The soil is still too wet to plant. And you go, wow, what is going on there? Because if the tile are dry, that means there's no more water moving laterally in the soil to those tiles. It should be fit to plant, but it's not. And many growers are finding the same thing. It's just been hard to get that soil to dry. The high temperatures are helping, but then you get another little shower, it slows you down again. And it's a really interesting, it's a different year than last year. We did not have this problem. I don't understand what is different, but it is like that soil is super tight and the water isn't evaporating the way it normally would. Lots of different tillage discussions we could have about that. But the other thing that I want to relate this to is all the reports I continue to get, even yet, I continue to get reports of, oh, Pete, I got yellow wheat. Is that stripe rust? Is it physiological fleck? Oh, wait a minute. It's neither. It's these yellow spots on the eroded knolls, the faces of slopes. What's going on? Oh, wait, that grower didn't apply any sulfur. Ding, 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 ding. What do you mean no sulfur? We got to apply sulfur on wheat. But the growers will say, well, we've tried it. We did not see response before. And so this whole soil being tight, not drying out, and warm temperatures, we should get lots of release from the organic matter, so we should not see sulfur deficiency. But this is making me think that even though the air temperature is warm, we're not getting that warmth into the soil, and we're not seeing the sulfur come out of the organic matter the way we normally would, and so we're seeing more sulfur response than normal, and this is related to the fact that that soil is not drying out the way that it should. I'm not 100% sure I'm right, but it really makes me wonder, because we all thought with the warm temperatures that we would see higher nitrogen availability from the organic matter, higher nitrates in the soil coming out this year because of those warm temperatures. I'm not so sure that's true anymore, just based on this thought process. So awesome observation, Norm, that's for sure. All right, carry on. Mike saying, all right, Peter, I want to ask a question about nitrogen volatilization. We put our nitrogen on our wheat crop. The next day we got a ½ inch of rain. I put a dosimeter out that measures volatilization. Got none because we got a ½ inch of rain, and that incorporated the nitrogen, that UAN or the urea, I don't know what you applied, into the soil. No loss. Awesome. Exactly what we want. I was putting mushroom compost on, and I got a ½ inch of rain. Does the same thing apply with mushroom compost? I don't know how much ammonium was in the mushroom compost, but does a ½ inch of rain stop volatilization? Well, Mike, whoa, stop. You got to back up 2 steps and say you're talking about 2 different beasts. It's the urea in the nitrogen, in the commercial fertilizer nitrogen, that is subject to volatilization because it's ammonia that volatilizes. In mushroom compost, you have ammonium. Ammonium does not volatilize. Now, if you're Peter Johnson and you put ammonium compost on your knolls where it's a pH of 8.4, so high pH, it can actually drive the ammonium, the reactions backwards to ammonia, and you could get some volatilization, but a ½ inch of rain on mushroom compost, I doubt there's any urea left in that mushroom compost, or very little, and the ammonium is fairly leachable, so I would expect that probably your risk of volatilization in that situation is really quite low. Mark saying, Peter, I've got clover that's already as big as the wheat crop. Now, Mark, I got to say, did you seed this clover last fall? Like, how could you have clover? Is it old clover, like established clover? Nonetheless, Mark's saying, is there something I could put with my T3 fungicide to burn that clover back? I don't want to kill it, but man, it's competing with the wheat. So the answer is no, Mark, don't do it. Nothing with the T3 spray. Not possible. Let the clover be. At harvest, spray it with Aragon. And high-rate Aragon will burn the top of the clover back enough that you can combine the wheat and not get all sorts of clover in the combine. It won't kill the clover, and you can get the wheat crop and have your clover too. So you can have your cake and eat it too, I suppose. But right now you can't do anything. It's at harvest Aragon. That's your best answer. All right, a caller asking about rolling beans, pre or post planting. He says, I'm on heavy clay soil. I would like to roll after I plant, but I'm worried about the beans emerging if I get a thunderstorm. And I would say, absolutely, if you're on heavy clay soil, crusting is an issue. Do not roll the soybeans until they emerge. Horse data clearly shows you wait till they're 1st to 3rd trifoliate. On a warm day, you roll them. You actually increase your yield a bit, and you don't have the emergence problems. So I think that is a good way to go. Another caller saying, Peter, planting depth on soybeans, I've got great moisture. Should I shallow them up to 1 inch? You know, we've gone as deep as 2 inches before. Kevin also saying, oh, Peter, conventional tillage. We have a John Deere 1590 drill. The front gang was burying the back, or pardon me, the back gang rather was burying the seeds. The front gang put in the soil 2 inches deep. Like, will they come up? What is the right depth? Again, Horst Bonner's data, our soybean specialists here in the province, 1.5 inches is what we target. Even with good moisture, you can put them a little bit shallower, but you run the risk of them drying out. And soybeans need so much moisture that you really don't want them less than 1 inch. Target 1.5 inches. And Kevin, at 2 inches with the soil temperature we have right now, emergence will be fine. If they're deeper than 2 inches, we can get into trouble. But given the year, given the soil temperatures, man, I think everything works. They just have to have enough moisture. and don't get them too deep. Too deep is a big issue, and we are not chasing moisture in most situations in the spring of 2024. With that, I am out of time. That's it. That's all on behalf of the team here at Real Agriculture. This is Wheat Pete with the word for Wednesday, May the 22nd. I hope you get dry if you're wet. I hope you get rain if you need it. And whatever you do, get that wheat crop sprayed. Leave me lots of messages. I love them. We'll talk to you next week. Bye now.